What if I told you J. Cole, one of the most respected rappers alive, might be repeating the same mistakes that nearly crushed his own career? What if Dreamville, the label that was supposed to build the future of hip-hop, is actually holding back its biggest star, JID? From secret albums sitting in the vault, to messy delays, to wild drama around Cole's beef with Kendrick Lamar, this story has everything. Betrayal, hidden tension, and a shocking cycle that proves even legends can fumble the next generation. J. Cole's story ain't just about one man's grind. It's about the constant clash between artistry, business, and legacy. When you look at J. Cole's journey, you see a dude who started out hungry, pushing mixtapes like The Warm Up, Friday Night Lights, and The Come Up. He poured his entire young life into those tapes, crafting stories about the struggle, ambition, and the uphill battle of chasing dreams. But when Jay-Z finally signed him to Roc Nation, Cole stepped into a whole new battlefield. Imagine being the first rapper signed to the biggest rapper alive. The pressure wasn't just heavy, it was crushing. Jay-Z was looking for hits, radio-ready singles, something mainstream that could move units. Cole, on the other hand, wanted to make classics, music that told stories and left a mark. That clash of visions would haunt his early career. Back then, the internet wasn't the beast it is today. Yeah, mixtapes were buzzing online, but if you wanted to blow up mainstream in 2010, you had to own the radio. That's what Jay-Z was banking on. Cole got thrown into studios with pop producers who were making cheesy commercial tracks that didn't fit his style. Think about it. Jay wanted him to make club hits while Cole was trying to rap about his life in Fayetteville, his mom's struggles, his grind at St. John's University. The disconnect was huge. Cole even admitted how stressful it was. He was watching peers like Drake, Whale, Big Sean, and Wiz Khalifa pump out hits while he was stuck chasing a sound that didn't feel like him. At one point, Jay-Z even told Drake at a party right in front of Cole, "Yo, can you give my boy a hit?" Imagine how that crushed his confidence. You're supposed to be Jay's star, but he's begging your competition for help. That kind of moment doesn't just sting, it leaves scars. But Cole eventually broke through, and ironically, it happened when he stopped trying so hard to fit the hit formula. He sampled Kanye's College Dropout and flipped it into Workout, a song Jay-Z initially hated but couldn't deny once it caught fire. From there, Cole realized that creative freedom was the only way he could survive in the industry. By the time 2014 Forest Hills Drive dropped, he fully leaned into his own vision. No radio gimmicks, no big features, just Cole telling his story. That was his true breakthrough, and it proved that raw authenticity beats label politics every time. But here's where the cycle gets wild. Years later, when Cole founded Dreamville, he was determined to avoid doing to others what Jay-Z did to him. He gave his artists ownership, creative freedom, and a collective vibe. He wanted Dreamville to feel like a home, not a business machine. That's how talents like JID, Ari Lennox Bass, and Earth Gang joined the squad. The energy peaked in 2019 with Revenge of the Dreamers 3, when Cole turned a studio into a creative compound packed with artists and producers. That album gave Dreamville its biggest sales week ever, and for JID, it was a turning point. He was now being viewed as one of the future leaders of hip-hop. Fans called him the next up, the one who could eventually stand alongside giants like Kendrick, Drake, and Cole himself. Still, there was a problem. Just like Cole had been trapped under Jay-Z's shadow, JID seemed stuck in Cole's. Even though Cole wasn't forcing radio hits or cheesy formulas, JID's career stalled in weird ways. Projects were delayed, collaborations with Metro Boomin, or even a rumored album with Cole stayed shelved, and years passed between releases. Fans kept asking, what's he waiting for? Why is he taking so long? And this is where the comparison hits hard. Just like Jay-Z almost fumbled Cole, many argue Cole has fumbled JID. Not out of malice, but out of that tricky dynamic where a rapper signs another rapper and visions don't align. JID himself admitted that signing to Cole wasn't about industry politics, it felt organic. Cole pulled up to his crib after hearing his mixtape 31 Bentley and respected his craft. JID always praised Cole for being genuine, not flashy, and supportive. But over time, cracks started showing. In interviews, JID listed his top 5 rappers, and Cole wasn't even on the list. That's not beef, but it shows they're on different creative wavelengths. Cole's more introspective, soul-driven, while JID is experimental, flipping flows, shifting voices, and going lyrical acrobatic. That difference created a silent misalignment. Unlike Wayne and Drake, who boosted each other constantly, Or Kanye and Jay-Z, who shared a common hunger for legacy. Cole and JID never synced like that. Meanwhile, the delays piled up. JID dropped DiCaprio 2 in 2018, The Forever Story in 2022, and then went silent again. By 2025, fans had waited 3 years for his next project, and when it finally came, the music was phenomenal, but the frustration was clear in his lyrics. On the opener, he rapped about being tired of fans acting like label execs obsessed with numbers. Later, on VCR, he said, "I open up my soul and it opens doors. I'm not killing stuff because of Cole, it's because I'm cold." That was JID basically telling the world, don't credit Cole for my success. I made it here off my own skills. That's a bold statement, especially when your label head is one of the most respected rappers alive. But the tension didn't stop there. When J. Cole dropped 7-minute drill dissing Kendrick Lamar, Dreamville as a whole got caught in the crossfire. At the Dreamville Fest, some artists were hyping Cole, saying Kendrick couldn't touch him. But JID, he quickly distanced himself on Twitter, saying, "I don't even kick it with Dreamville like that." That shocked fans. Imagine your label's biggest star admitting he doesn't rock with the team like that. It exposed the disconnect and made people question what was really going on behind closed doors. JID was showing respect for Cole as a person, but he clearly wasn't ready to ride for him in beef or align his career with Cole's moves. Instead, he kept praising Kendrick, saying multiple times he needed a verse from him. When you zoom in on JID's career, it feels like deja vu, history repeating itself. Just like J. Cole got stuck under Jay-Z's massive shadow in the early 2010s, JID seems to be going through the same struggle under Cole. And it's not because the talent isn't there. JID is a monster with the pen. His flows switch mid-verse like he's juggling 10 different styles at once. His voice bends and stretches in ways that feel alien. He's got the makings of a superstar, but the rollout and label politics never matched the level of his artistry. Fans kept waiting, expecting him to be the new face of hip-hop, but instead they got silence, delays, and the feeling that something was always holding him back. That something feels a lot like the same trap Cole fell into under Roc Nation. The thing about signing to another rapper's label is it always looks sweet at the start. You get cosigns, credibility, access to producers, and a built-in fan base. But as time goes on, cracks form. Rapper execs struggle to balance their own careers with managing others. Look at Wayne and Young Money. It worked out because Wayne was actively feeding Drake and Nicki features, constantly putting them on. Look at Rick Ross with Meek Mill. They were constantly collaborating, boosting each other, but then compare Kanye with good music, tons of talent, but he eventually drifted away from most of them. The same thing happened with Dreamville. Aside from Bass, who Cole collabs with regularly, most of the artists, Ari Lennox, Earth Gang, JID, were left to figure things out on their own. Ari Lennox's situation makes the cracks clear. Signed in 2015, she waited 4 years to drop her debut album, Shea Butter Baby. Even after that, delays and lack of promotion had her frustrated to the point where she publicly demanded release in 2024, accusing Dreamville and Interscope of neglect. She later said she respected Cole, but the system wasn't working. By April 2025, she officially parted ways with Dreamville. That was a major red flag because Ari wasn't just another artist, she was one of the label's brightest stars. If someone that talented and that respected feels like they can't thrive under the system, what does that say about JID's position? The truth is, Dreamville might have been built with good intentions, but the execution didn't match the vision. Cole wanted a Wu-Tang style collective where lyrical MCs and soulful singers could shine. And for a minute, it looked like he had it. Revenge of the Dreamers 3 gave fans hope that this label would dominate for years to come. But once the hype died down, it was back to the same old issues, projects taking forever, momentum getting lost, and artists struggling to break through on their own. JID in particular seemed like the chosen one, yet Cole never fully stood beside him the way Wayne did with Drake or Ross with Meek. For someone as lyrically sharp as JID, that missing push makes all the difference. When Cole dropped his 7-minute drill diss aimed at Kendrick Lamar, things got even messier. Suddenly, Dreamville as a camp was tied into a rap war, and people expected JID to step up since he's the most lyrical on the roster. But instead of backing Cole, JID distanced himself, saying online, "I don't even kick it with Dreamville like that." That one line spoke volumes. It wasn't just him dodging beef, it was him exposing how disconnected he felt from the label. Fans started questioning, does JID even belong at Dreamville anymore? Add to that the fact that JID has repeatedly praised Kendrick and even begged for a feature from him, while barely mentioning Cole in recent years and the writings on the wall. And the bigger question, why is JID still waiting for his Forest Hills Drive moment? Cole broke through when he stopped chasing hits and leaned fully into his story. JID's got the skill, the voice, and the creativity, but his career keeps stalling. Some fans argue it's because he experiments too much, switching flows so often that not all of them land. Others think it's because he's too lyrical for today's mainstream trap-heavy Atlanta scene. But the harsh reality is this: timing and execution matter. Hip-hop is about momentum, and JID keeps losing his just when the spotlight's on him. When people talk about JID, the conversation always circles back to potential. He's one of the most gifted lyricists of his generation, yet the mainstream crown has stayed just out of reach. Why? Because hip-hop ain't just about bars anymore. It's about branding, timing, and making sure your vision matches the machine behind you. That's where the cracks in Dreamville really start showing. JID's career could have blasted off to superstardom years ago if the label had leaned harder into his strengths. Instead, we got long hiatuses, shelved projects, and missed opportunities. Think about it, he's got an entire unreleased album with J. Cole that fans would eat up instantly, plus rumors of projects with Metro Boomin. Why are those sitting on the hard drive? That's not talent's fault, that's label strategy failing to match the moment. Meanwhile, you can't ignore how fans see JID. To them, he's supposed to be the guy. After Kendrick, Drake, and Cole, people were looking for a new leader of the culture. For a while, all eyes were on JID. His pen was sharp, his delivery unmatched, his energy fresh. Yet here we are in 2025, and instead of being at the top of the mountain, he's still clawing for that spot. Even his newest album, which is fire and packed with deep lyrics, came 3 years after his last project. In today's fast-paced music world, that's an eternity. Rappers like Gunna and Baby Keem keep dropping or at least staying visible, while JID goes ghost for years at a time. You can't dominate the game if your presence disappears every other year. And then there's his style. JID experiments a lot, constantly switching flows mid-song, stretching his voice like Play-Doh, and trying new cadences. On paper, that's exciting. It shows versatility. But the gamble is, not every flow hits the same. Some tracks sound legendary, others sound experimental to the point of distraction. A rapper like Gunna may not be as lyrical, but he sticks to a few flows that always land. With JID, the variety is a blessing and a curse. That's why you'll hear fans say stuff like JID's the best rapper with no quotables, meaning he spits crazy bars but hasn't made that one undeniable line the whole culture repeats. Still, you can't write JID off. His skill level puts him in rare company. He's got the speed and sharpness of an Eminem, the introspection of a Cole, the storytelling touch of a Kendrick, and even the alien-like voice range of a Young Thug. Few rappers can combine all that in one package. The problem is, the game doesn't reward you just for being talented. You gotta make impact, and impact is built on moments. Cole had his moment with Forest Hills Drive, Kendrick had Good Kid in May 80 City, Drake had Take Care. JID's moment still hasn't arrived, and part of that blame falls on Dreamville not knowing how to position him. Let's not forget, JID almost signed with Quality Control before choosing Cole. Imagine if he had. QC built stars like Migos and Lil Baby by flooding the streets with music, keeping them relevant constantly. JID might not have fit the trap sound, but QC knows how to market talent and keep fans engaged. Instead, Dreamville gave him space and freedom, but not enough push. Freedom is great, but without direction, it turns into stagnation. Ari Lennox said it herself. The label didn't know how to market or protect her. JID's probably felt the same way, even if he hasn't been as vocal about it. Another layer to this is location. JID's from Atlanta, the epicenter of modern hip-hop, but his music doesn't align with trap culture. He's lyrical, abstract, and experimental, more in line with Kendrick than Future. That makes him stand out, but also makes it harder to fit into Atlanta's mainstream machine. Instead of embracing that difference and building him as the lyrical king of the South, Dreamville seems to have let him float without a solid plan. As a result, even with critical acclaim, he hasn't built the same dominance as his peers. And look at Baby Keem. He hasn't dropped an album in years either, but he's managed to stay in conversations because of his close ties to Kendrick. Their bond creates momentum, and fans feel like they're watching the torch get passed. JID doesn't have that. He's signed to Cole, but Cole rarely collaborates with him or boosts his profile. Without that mentorship energy, JID looks like he's navigating the game alone. By 2025, Dreamville's whole image started shifting, and not in the way fans expected. When Cole first built the label, it looked like he was setting up the future of hip-hop, a squad full of lyrical beasts, a soulful R&B powerhouse in Ari Lennox, and Cole himself leading from the front. It felt unstoppable. But as time went on, the cracks got bigger. Ari leaving was a heavy blow, and the silence around JID's career became louder. The momentum they had in 2019 with Revenge of the Dreamers 3 fizzled out, and the camp stopped feeling like a collective force. Instead, it looked like a group of talented artists stuck in limbo, waiting on Cole to decide whether he was an executive or an artist. And then came the Kendrick Lamar situation, which exposed everything. When Cole dropped 7-Minute Drill, a diss aimed at Kendrick, it sent shockwaves through the culture. For the first time in years, Cole seemed ready for battle, but within days, he apologized, calling it a mistake. That back and forth not only made Cole look conflicted, it put the entire Dreamville camp in a weird spot. Some of the artists were at the Dreamville festival hyping Cole up, saying Kendrick wasn't touching him. Others, like JID, distanced themselves completely, making it clear they weren't riding into that war. That split in public perception was messy. On one side, Cole and Bass defending him. On the other, JID quietly signaling that he was closer in spirit to Kendrick than Cole. For fans, it raised an uncomfortable question. Is Dreamville even unified anymore? The fallout was ugly. Cole's apology left his fan base divided. Some respected the humility, others thought he looked weak. And JID's silence spoke even louder. Instead of defending his label head, he was online praising Kendrick, even saying he needed a verse from him. That was almost symbolic. It showed that creatively, JID wanted to align more with Kendrick's world than Cole's. When your label's most promising star publicly shows more admiration for your rival than for you, that's a sign something's broken internally. This is where Dreamville's flaws as a rapper-run label came fully into view. Unlike Wayne with Young Money or Ross with Maybach Music, Cole never played the role of hype man for his roster. He gave them space, but not shine. Fans rarely saw Cole and JID on the same songs, and even when they had a whole album together in the vault, it never dropped. That hands-off approach worked for Cole's personal philosophy of letting artists be free, but it left them without the boost they needed. In an era where cosigns and collaborations are everything, Dreamville looked strangely disconnected, and this is bigger than just music. It's about legacy. Cole's legacy is solidified as one of the big three alongside Drake and Kendrick, but his label's legacy, that's shaky. Outside of Bass, Ari Lennox, and JID, none of the artists broke through to mainstream dominance. Ari's departure proved that Dreamville didn't know how to handle a superstar talent outside of rap. JID's delays proved they didn't know how to handle a superstar talent within rap. It painted a picture of a label that had the right roster but the wrong strategy. Meanwhile, the rap game doesn't stop moving. Kendrick's camp, through PG Lang and Baby Keem, built a narrative of mentorship and evolution. Drake kept his OVO brand alive by constantly working with new artists and riding trends. Even Travis Scott's Cactus Jack had Don Toliver rise into stardom by following his blueprint. Dreamville, by contrast, looked stagnant. No clear direction, no breakout after 2019, and internal fractures spilling into public view. For Cole, that had to sting. He built Dreamville as a way to avoid what Jay-Z did to him at Roc Nation, but it ended up mirroring those same pitfalls. JID's role in all this can't be overstated. He was supposed to be the face of the new Dreamville generation, the one carrying the lyrical torch into the future. Instead, he became the symbol of its frustrations. Every time fans saw him praise Kendrick or hint at distance from the camp, it made Cole look less like a mentor and more like just another exec who didn't fully connect with his artist. And the longer JID took between albums, the louder those questions grew. Was Cole holding him back? Was Dreamville a good fit in the first place? So now we're here in 2025 looking at the state of JID, J. Cole, and Dreamville, and it feels like the story has come full circle. What started as a label built on freedom, collaboration, and vision has turned into a lesson about how even good intentions can get lost in the business of hip-hop. JID is still one of the most talented rappers alive, no question, but his career feels like it's been slowed down by forces bigger than him. Fans expected him to be the next voice of a generation, but instead he's dropping phenomenal albums every 3 years with no momentum in between. In hip-hop, timing is everything, and every delay chips away at that spotlight. The sad part, JID has all the tools: lyricism, flow, voice, versatility, stage presence. But without a consistent push, he risks being remembered as the guy who could have been the best instead of the guy who took over. That's why so many fans compare him to J. Cole's early struggles. Cole was once stuck fighting Jay-Z for creative freedom, trapped by label politics that didn't understand his vision. He only broke free when he leaned into his own authenticity on Forest Hills Drive. For JID, the same breakthrough moment is still missing. He's got the Forever Story. He's got this new 2025 album, but neither has given him that cultural moment where the whole world stops and says, yeah, he's the one. And maybe that's because he's been trying to figure out who he is under a label that doesn't fully align with him. Just like Cole had to detach from Jay-Z's shadow, JID might have to detach from Cole's. But here's the twist. Maybe JID doesn't even want superstardom. Some artists chase numbers, awards, and mainstream love. Others just want to make great music and feed their core fans. Offset once said JID is the best rapper out of Atlanta, and he's not wrong. Even without massive radio hits, JID sells out 5,000 plus capacity venues worldwide. His fan base might be smaller than a Drake or a Kendrick, but it's loyal, dedicated, and growing. That might be the lane JID truly wants. Cult status, not pop star status. In a way that makes him more like MF Doom than Drake, more about respect and artistry than commercial dominance. And if that's the case, maybe the delays and frustration are worth it, because when he does drop, he delivers something that lasts. For Cole, the lesson hits even harder. He tried to avoid Jay-Z's mistakes, but fell into the same trap, trying to balance being an artist and an executive. When you're one of the greatest rappers alive, it's hard to give your full energy to managing others. Cole gave Dreamville artists freedom, but freedom without direction can become neglect. JID thrived creatively, but struggled strategically. Ari Lennox thrived artistically, but felt unsupported. The collective energy they had in 2019 never translated into consistent dominance. Cole will always be remembered as one of hip-hop's big three, but his label's legacy will always have an asterisk, full of talent but underdeveloped. The Kendrick beef exposed that tension too. Cole apologized, JID praised Kendrick, Bass defended Cole. It looked like a fractured camp. Meanwhile, Kendrick and Baby Keem built PG Lang into a mysterious but united movement. Drake kept OVO running with his usual consistency. Even Travis managed to push Don Toliver into stardom. Dreamville looked like the odd man out, a label full of stars who never fully broke free. That doesn't erase the impact of songs like Down Bad or Ari's Shea Butter Baby, but it does raise the question: what could Dreamville have been if Cole had gone all in as an executive the way Wayne did for Drake and Nicki? As for JID, the path forward is clear but risky. He needs his Forest Hills Drive moment, a project that fully defines him and leaves no doubt about his place in hip-hop. Maybe it's the album he just dropped in 2025. Maybe it's still sitting in the vault. But if he keeps waiting years between releases, that moment could pass him by. The rap game moves too fast now. New stars pop up every month on TikTok, and consistency wins over perfection. For JID to claim his spot, he has to strike while his name is still buzzing. But even if he never reaches Drake or Kendrick levels, JID's artistry guarantees him a permanent spot in hip-hop culture. He's too good to be forgotten, too unique to blend in, and too respected to fade away. His loyal fans will ride for him no matter what, and in the long run, that might be the truest form of success, being an artist who makes the music he wants, on his own terms while still packing venues worldwide.